Much like defenses, kickers are the most surefire and easiest way to improve your edge on a weekly basis in fantasy, and it's not until this point into the season where you realize how important kickers are in fantasy. So we're going through Week 13's top 12 kicker rankings, and I'm already one of the only fantasy YouTubers who covers kickers on a weekly basis, so make sure to go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel to show your support. Now getting into our first tier, I want to keep it exclusive for Ka'imi Fairbairn and Jason Myers. So Ka'imi Fairbairn of the Houston Texans going to Indianapolis this week to take on the Colts. This feels like one of those matchups where it's going to be dominated by field goals. I mean, we already have a divisional matchup at play here. And this is basically going to be one of those fights where it's a great defense versus an offense that I don't really feel like is going in the right direction. Houston's defense versus Indy's offense, that is. And Indy's defense, which has been very good, versus Houston's offense, which I think is very, very hot and cold. But even in their hot days, they're not putting up that many points on a regular basis. Most of the time, this is the same offense every week. They will get you down there because they have playmakers and their quarterback play has been competent this year. And the fact that you've got this kicker who can get you a 55 to 60 yard kick on any given week, this guy's been very accurate, and usually they get sacked once or twice to get them out of touchdown contention and give themselves field goal range. Ka'imi Fairbairn, this feels like one of those matchups he'll do really well in. Jason Myers of the Seattle Seahawks at number 2, playing the Minnesota Vikings at home. And I said this earlier in the week with defenses. I think what's going to happen here is the Seahawks are going to win this game. Like, I don't expect this one to be relatively close. There's an outside chance it's maybe a lower scoring game with a lot of field goals, but overall, this is just a situation where you have to look at and say, Seattle is kicking tons of field goals and tons of extra points. Any way you cut this cake, they're getting down there in range for Jason Myers to kick field goals on a weekly basis and at least kick 3 extra points, basically. So if you give him 3 extra points and 2 field goal attempts, it's going to work out. And I think it's going to work out against Minnesota's defense because, again, as I've discussed, Sam Darnold is in a bad spot this week because Minnesota's defense knows how to play him. So I do think there's a good chance it's a field goal heavy day. Dropping down to our next tier, I've got Cameron Dicker at number 3 of the Los Angeles Chargers playing the Las Vegas Raiders. No other way for me to process the information other than the Raiders are terrible, right? And the reason he's ultimately not inside of tier 1 is because I think there's a really high percentage chance that all of Los Angeles' points is scored by touchdowns, which is fine. If he gets 5 extra point attempts, that's 5 points, assuming he makes all of them. Not a terrible week, but at the end of the day, he needs to get field goals in order for this to work. And the Raiders, even though they got Max Crosby up front, I don't see them really shutting down the Chargers offense enough to where he kicks a ton of field goals. I feel like this is a 4 touchdown, 4 extra point, and 1 field goal type of day, which keeps him inside of tier 2 because he's been very good this year. But at the end of the day, I don't think that he has tier 1 upside this week. Harrison Butker at number 4 and Brandon Aubrey at 5. They're taking on each other in the Thanksgiving matchup. Honestly, this could be a fantastic game to watch. It's in Dallas, obviously, on Thanksgiving. That's always how it goes. I like Harrison Butker this week. Listen, one thing that I found out about Kansas City this past week is that their offense wasn't as strong as I thought it was going to be. Now, Indianapolis' defense is very good. I do think they have a stronger defense than the Dallas Cowboys do. But Dallas' defense, it's kind of been proven now 2 straight weeks, has gotten better, particularly up front. So I don't think there's going to be much of a rushing threat from the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be all passing. And if anything is like last week, in this week, then Harrison Butker is in line to kick a bunch of field goals. I do think this feels like one of those games where it's either going to be really high scoring or it's going to be a field goal fest. I want in on this matchup one way or the other, and right now I'm favoring Butker because his ceiling has been higher and more hit than Brandon Aubrey's. Brandon Aubrey have been going through this for the past several weeks. He no longer has an elite ceiling, it feels like. It's not that I don't think he has an elite ceiling. I do think he does. but the frequency of hitting that ceiling is just less than it used to be. His last 5 games, 17 points, which was the high point, 6 points, 5 points, 9 points, 7 points. So he's just not hitting that consistent ceiling that we're used to. And of course, he's missing kicks right now. He's missed 2 field goals, but that's only because they send him out 60-plus yard range, and he doesn't always hit those. That's hard to consistently hit. It's not because Aubrey is becoming a less than kicker. It's mostly because of the offense and their efficiency at the red zone, which is the reason he's not providing super ceiling games. But that being said, I like this matchup. I think Kansas City's defense shuts them down a couple times, and Aubrey has a good ceiling in this game. And we've got Chris Boswell at number 6 to round out this tier, and he's taking on the Buffalo Bills in Pittsburgh this week. So I do think there's a good opportunity here for Boswell, but a lot of it does depend on if it's Rudolph or if it's Aaron Rodgers. If it's Rudolph, I don't trust the offense to get down there as much. But if it is Rodgers, I do think they have a chance to have a really field goal happy game because it's against Buffalo's defense, which has not been very good this year. And at the end of the day, even if the Steelers offense stalls out, that's where Boswell shines. He did not kick a single field goal against Chicago's defense last week. So either they're going to score and be efficient again, or there's going to be a lot of field goals. I'm leaning towards the field goal side. I think that the Steelers offense is very inconsistent and one you can't rely on for consistent fantasy upside on an offensive perspective. But from Boswell's perspective, that's where it comes through. So I do think he has a good ceiling this week, but I've got him down here at 6. And I will tell you this, I've seen kickers like Kaimi Fairbairn on my waiver wire. Harrison Buckert is out there on waiver wires too. This is why we've automated the waiver process for you. Because every night, there's a 3 a.m. wake-up call to go grab the rest of the best free agents that were left off of priority waiver ads. We've automated that for you so you can sleep through the night and still beat those guys going up at 3 a.m. to go grab those guys. We've automated it so you sleep through the night. And in addition, you can also get access to my weekly top 270 rankings. You can get access to the comparison feature and the league sync up feature as well. And you also have the option to refer a friend as well. If you enjoy what we do and enjoy the waiver wire software, you refer a friend and you and your friend get a free month entirely. And if you just want to do a full team breakdown from me where we discuss trade ideas, waiver ideas on a live stream, live back and forth dialogue, we can also do a live stream with a team breakdown for you as well. Dropping down to our next tier, I've got Tyler Loop at number 7 of the Baltimore Ravens, and he's taking on the Bengals in Baltimore, and I've got Evan McPherson at 8. So when it comes to this matchup, this one hopefully is going to be fireworks, because if you look at last year, this one was fireworks both times that they played. And Lamar Jackson, I've been saying, I don't think he's the same guy this year because I think he's playing probably at 70 to 80%. I do not think he's fully healthy, which has increased Tyler Loop's consistency. Now, his floor and his ceiling, I would say, is roughly about the same range. But if you look at the last 4 games with Tyler Loop, he's had 4 points, 14 points, 12 points, 11 points. So he hit that bad game, 4 points. But other than that, he's been really good because they're getting down there because of the talent, but they're not always executing. Now, this does feel like one of those weeks where the Bengals kind of cure everything from a defensive perspective, so I do think that there's probably going to be more end zone trips this week than there has been in previous weeks, which is why he's down there in tier 3. And then Evan McPherson, Joe Burrow coming back, I think changes things in one sense, but in the other sense, it kind of stays the same because Evan McPherson has had a lot of good games this year. He hasn't been consistent at all, but I think that's what improves, is the consistency of which he can hit. The last 5 games for him, though, it's been a mixed bag of pretty much good. 17 points, 8 points, 11 points, 8 points, and 12 points. Like, he has been doing really well. I just think his floor gets kind of ironed out with the return of Burrow. So I don't think that Burrow's first week back is going to be his best, which probably increases the amount of field goals that they kick. Evan McPherson's got a good ceiling this week. My only issue with him is he is not always the most accurate guy. Number 9, I've got Matt Gay to round out this tier. And San Francisco's kicker, bottom line is you just want whoever it is. I think it's going to be Matt Gay for another straight week. I don't think Eddie Pinheiro will come back for this team until after their Week 14 bye week, which is next week. It's at Cleveland this week. This is a defense that obviously stops a lot of people. And the 49ers offense does have their hot and cold moments. They can definitely get down there and score and Matt Gay just gets an extra point attempt, but they also have a lot of moments where they stall out and then Matt Gay kicks a 40 or 50 or 30-yard field goal for them. So I do think that that's probably going to happen a bunch. And again, the bottom line is this. You just want a kicker that's in San Francisco right now. That offense is getting down there. In Matt Gay's first game with the 49ers, 9 fantasy points. I think there's even more upside to do better this week than there was against the Panthers. Dropping down to our last tier, Michael Badgley of the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Houston Texans in Indy. So again, Michael Badgley is just in this matchup that I think is going to be a lower scoring game and probably one with a lot of field goals. Now here's the reason I'm ultimately not as big on Michael Badgley as I would be of someone like Kaimi Fairbairn. I don't think that Michael Badgley's offense is as consistent as the Texans' offense is. We kind of know what we're getting with the Texans. With Badgley and the Colts, it's kind of week to week where we get some good, really efficient performances from Daniel Jones, and then other games where we don't get that efficiency, and he ends up just kind of leaving them high and dry and having to punt. This feels like one of those games where it could be a lot of punts, and Daniel Jones just doesn't look very good against the Texans' strong defense. And I think Michael Badgley is probably going to be limited to 2 or 3 field goals this week, which could be good, or that could not be good if he kicks only 20-yard field goals. I've kind of mitigated that risk a little bit with Michael Badgley in Week 13 versus the Houston Texans. Cam Little of the Jacksonville Jaguars going to Tennessee to take on the Titans is at number 11. Cam Little has been so hot and cold this year, and it's kind of hard to know exactly when he's going to be on. I mean, his last 5 games, 1 point, 15 points, 13 points, 5 points, and 13. So his ceiling has been pretty solid, but his floor is minimal because sometimes he misses kicks. And that's kind of the problem with Cam Little, is that this guy does not have a very consistent leg. He's got a big leg, and he can hit from basically anywhere on the field, but this guy I do not trust on a weekly basis to always be consistent. So I have to mitigate risk by putting him down here in this lower portion here. Now, this week against the Titans, I don't see how it doesn't work to a certain extent, so I do feel pretty safe putting him inside my top 12, but not safe enough to put him much higher than this. And then Andy Baregulis to round us out at 12. And he's taking on the New York Giants in New England this week. This one has a lot of potential to be really good. I mean, this could either be one of those games where New England scores 5 touchdowns and he only gets 5 extra points, or it could be one of those games where he kicks a field goal or 2. Now, I do think that ultimately you kind of have to look at Andy Baregulis, and for the most part, he's done well, but he has missed 4 kicks this year. I do think ultimately this offense is kind of one that you're trusting more and more, and especially with them giving the reins to Travion, kind of lowers the upside, I think, at the kicker position because they probably stall out a little bit less. So let me know what you think of the rankings in the comments below. And if you want to see the top 12 defense rankings for this week, click on this video right here.